Let's look at choosing which approvals we want for our database release process. Given that we can have gates and approvals, which ones are important? There's really no set list of gates and approvals for databases, but we often want approval when a large amount of resources are involved or we're going to disrupt service. For example, if I'm going to restore my production database to another environment, that could be a large project. It might require tens of terabytes of storage. And before we would do that in staging, we want to ensure that we're not going to cause problems. The storage group is aware that we have this need, that we're not going to run out of space, we're not going to disrupt any other operations that may be going on for that particular department. Or maybe we have a single QA environment, and we don't want to automatically deploy to the server because somebody in QA might be using that process. They might be actually testing something, and we don't want to make a change unless they approve that deployment. They don't want to have their work disrupted because that interrupts our DevOps process and slows down our ability to move software through the system. Whenever our database is a shared resource, or we have multiple people or applications that actually depend on the system, we want to avoid disrupting the service. And the database is often that central point, so we want to be careful when we make change. Now, this could be in production. Certainly we don't want customers interrupted, but also could be in development or QA. Because if developers or QA people are idle because the system is being changed or something is going on, that's a misuse of our resources as well. Our developer and QA time is expensive. Most release management systems allow us to have pre- or post-deployment approvals. These are all very useful. Post-deployments are especially useful to ensure that someone is aware a change has been made and they've actually had a chance to look at them. I personally like the idea of post-deployment approvals in staging environments because I want to ensure that my operations staff or my DBAs examine the results and review the impact of deployments, whether that's through logs or monitoring or something else. I often like a pre-deployment review in staging to ensure that DBA is aware that deployment is coming and they know they're going to need to perform that review. In production, we may or may not have those approvals because we may depend that once they're complete in staging, they're okay. The particular approvals you choose are going to depend on your workflow. You really need to look at your entire environment and determine which database systems can't be changed or altered without someone being aware, without someone being notified so we don't disrupt their work. My suggestion is when you start to implement approvals in your DevOps process, start with as few as possible. Only have approvals that are truly needed, then only add more when you find that communication is problematic in some way. That way you don't have unnecessary work being performed, but you're also not disrupting people too much while you're performing your software deployments.